your best life. We're so thrilled that you had the opportunity to register and connect with us today. If you have not had an opportunity to join us for our previous sessions, please know that if you are a member of the Embracing Art community, you will find the recording of those sessions in your portal. So find out how you can be a member if you are not already a member. But just as a recap, this is our fifth session. We are bringing people, staff, and community experts, and my family members in front of you to talk to you about topics that have a long-lasting impact on your life. And so today we're going to be talking about protecting your mind, protecting your mental health. And we are going to be blessed with a discussion by Tyrell Green. And I'm going to turn it over to him. If you have any questions, please drop those questions in the chat box. I'll try to filter through those questions, but I'll turn it over to him. We'll probably take about 45 minutes in this conversation and then leave the last 10 minutes or so for Q&A. But as your questions are coming, I'll keep my eye on the chat box. So without further ado, Tyrell.
Thank you so much. And I want to apologize that we had to reschedule.
I think you're muted.
Oh, can you not hear me? Oh.
Are you good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
Like your sound went out.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
Good. Okay. Yep. I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I do want to apologize for last week. I know that we were scheduled to already have this presentation going, but I just so happened to be in a country where the internet was not working for me. I didn't have any cell service. I didn't have any text service or anything like that. So I do appreciate anybody who was able to rejoin us today and just have a little conversation about our mental health, just getting some awareness out and some of the steps that we can take in order to better ourselves, to keep ourselves in great mental health positions and to improve where we're at. So, of course, I'm here today on behalf of Life Embracing Arms and Life Enhancement Services. So they are both organizations that share a passion for community development, education, social change, youth leadership, and parent empowerment. So I did want to talk a little bit just about my organization as it pertains to our mental health. So Life Enhancement Services is a behavioral health agency, and we provide therapy to children and adults here in the city of Houston. We treat a wide range of mental disorders, behavioral disorders. We deal with alcohol and drug addictions and more. We provide our services both in person as well as virtually. And we do that so that we can be accessible to our clients. One thing that we see very often in Houston and just in the country in general, when it comes to our mental health and our therapeutic services, that there's a lack of accessibility. A lot of times our agencies, you have to go to a location, you have to meet someone somewhere, you have to plan around these sessions. Something that we like to do is make sure that you don't have to worry about that. We will come to your house, we will come to your school, we will make ourselves available for you. We understand that a lot of our clients, a lot of individuals who are looking for these mental health services, they are in positions in where they're not able to be so flexible. We see a lot of single parents. We see a lot of secondary parents, so like elderly parents who aren't able to just move around. So we want to be able to, meet them where they're most comfortable. We are an insurance-based agency as well, so we do take Medicaid. And we get a lot of questions about, why don't we accept, private insurances, or why don't we accept cash, or direct payments from our clients? And it's very simple. With our philosophy is that we are looking at specific demographics. The demographics that we work in are going to be the underserved communities, the overlooked communities, and those communities are typically the ones that have Medicaid. If we were to add private insurances, then we would in turn be putting some of our clients lower on our list because private insurances pay out more. So, in order to serve our clientele, our populations properly, we want to make sure that they have the access and that they're not being overlooked. And it's the same when it comes to cash, direct payments. People are willing to pay for these services, but it's not always about the money. It's about making sure we're getting our services to the population that needs them. Some of the things that we specialize in are going to be like our anger management, our depression counseling, grief counseling. And with grief counseling, there's always this idea when you hear grief that you're thinking of a loss of a life. With our grief counseling, it's not necessarily just when you're losing a loved one. Sometimes our grief counseling involves, a loss of a job. Divorces, when you have really, really nasty, messy divorces, in which you're not going to see your significant other again, maybe. That type of grief we come across with a lot of our clients. Another specialty is our reentry support. And when we hear reentry support, we automatically assume that we're talking about getting out of jail, but that's not always the type of reentry that we need. Of course, we do specialize in helping individuals reintegrate into society after leaving the justice system, but we also do reentry for individuals who are getting back into work, from COVID, who've been working virtually for so long, and now they're having to go back into this environment of being at their workplace physically. We see people who need that type of reentry support, as well as people who are coming out of bad relationships, bad situations, and they're trying to just reintegrate into society. We offer support for those individuals for so many different reasons. We want people to understand that what you might not see as important may be what might not be really affecting your life. You might not see it as a big issue, but we want to try to dive in and take care of all the little things to make sure that you are the best version of yourself. So just a little bit more. When we talk about the therapy that we do, we are recovery focused. So we have a multitude of individuals who are psychologists, social workers, other mental health professionals, and we all work together to help our clients achieve a healthy and happy, rewarding life. We offer these mental health services to address multiple needs, and our staff are able to provide for both the physical, mental, and social aspects of our clients' lives. And a lot of times when we're talking about our services and we mention the physical aspect of our services, people are kind of confused because they hear therapy, they hear mental health, and they're like, well, what aspect could you help me physically? One thing that we like to say is that our psychiatrists are trained in medicine, and a lot of times we have mental health issues that are related to a physical condition that we are going through. So our psychiatrists are able to provide you those physical well-being, those checkups to make sure that there are not physical issues that are affecting your mental. And then we, of course, once we get there, we attack the mental issues, we attack your social issues, and that's what helps kind of wrap everything around and create that happy and rewarding life for you. And we do serve all ages, from children 4 and older. There is no cap to how old you can be to be in the program. We do try not to see anyone under the age of 4, just because of the cognizant differences, the fact that some of these kids are still developing. There's a lot that you really can't do with very, very young ages. We are able to provide our individual therapies, family therapies, and something that we really try to get out is our group therapies. And with our group therapies, because we are Medicaid based, most of our clients do have to have some type of Medicaid. But we realize that a lot of the individuals we serve do not have insurance at all. So we are able to take groups of individuals who do have the insurance and pair them with individuals who don't have insurance so that they can still enjoy and benefit from our programs. And we just want to, make sure that no matter what, that we're getting as much information and awareness out to our clients and to our community. So one of the main things that we deal with when we're doing our therapy is skill building. And skill building is training and support services that help individuals participate in school, participate at work, participate with, volunteer opportunities and in their community. And then they're to learn the skills that they need to support themselves while they're in, these areas. So our skills training and development services just consists of us teaching, managing daily responsibilities. So that could be something like paying your bills, making sure you're doing chores and attending school. Then we have our pro-social skill building. I mean, that's just essentially replacing your problematic behaviors with more appropriate behaviors when you're out in the community and you're dealing with other individuals. We also help you develop interpersonal skills, and that's really just going to help you when you're interacting with others in your social life and out in the community. Do you understand why they react the way they do to you? Do you understand why they have different values than you do? Sometimes we see that people don't understand that, they think really one-sided. So we help them develop those interpersonal skills. And it helps you deal with those individuals at work, at school, in your community. And we work on your communication skills. Having effective communication is key in every aspect of your life. And recognizing and changing problematic, communication skills is very important. We want to make sure that you're saying what needs to be said, so that you can get what you deserve. And that really takes us into the assertiveness aspect of our skill building. And that is resisting peer pressure. That's being at work or being at school and making sure that you're not doing, stuff that you're not supposed to be doing, that you're not just following any trends, things that won't really benefit you. And it allows you to express your own opinion. Again, we want our clients to speak up for themselves. We want our clients to get the things that they deserve. And one thing that we want to teach you is the difference between being aggressive and being assertive. A lot of times we have people who are just overly aggressive and they want to put themselves in positions where they don't really need to be. They might not be qualified for, or they just might not be beneficial to them. So we want to teach people to not just put yourself in every situation and be aggressive, but we want you to be assertive. We want you to speak up for what you deserve. Speak up and put yourself in the positions that you're supposed to be in. So those are just a little bit of, the components that revolve around skill building. The next thing that I want to talk about is medication management. And that's just education when it comes to the medications that you're going to be prescribed. We see a lot in our community of people overdosing. We see a lot of people using recreational or drugs recreationally when they really shouldn't be. We want our clients, when they're getting our medicines or being prescribed medicines, to kind of understand the full nature of what's going on. So that's going to start with our clinicians and our clients understanding first what the mental illness is, or when we're, speaking of children, we call it the serious emotional disturbance. We want it to be agreed upon and understood between our clients and clinicians what the actual problem is. Once we do that, then we go and want to teach you the concepts of recovery, what that recovery looks like from your issue, and what we want to do to stay resilient, to make sure that we're staying on task, and doing the things that we're supposed to do as far as it, as it relates to our medication. Then we want you to understand the role of your medication. So what does it help? And more importantly, what does it not help? How does that affect your day-to-day activity? So how are you able to continue to go to school, go to work while you're taking these medicines? We want you to understand that. After that, we want to look at the side effects of the medicines, the contradictions of the medicines, which could be something like you are already on a medication and you can't take this because it'll conflict with each other, or maybe you're pregnant and there's certain medications that you can't take. We want our clients to understand those type of contradictions or contradictions when it comes to the medication, and then we want you to understand what overdosing and self-administration is like. When we prescribe these medications to our clients, they're going home. We're not able to be with them 24/7. So how are we going to make sure that they're taking the medicine, when they're supposed to, that they're not overdoing it, that they understand what happens when you overdo it, the consequences of that. So we really want, our clients just to understand fully, from top to bottom, what these medications are, how they're going to affect you, and what that just looks like as far as a long-term situation. Do you have to take the medication forever, or is this something that we can kind of wean off of? So that's really it for our medication management, but it's one of the most important aspects of our organization, of our agency, to make sure people understand that. Last but not least, when it comes to my organization, is our case management. And with case management, it is a process that, it takes the clients, it takes their families, it takes the communities, and we come together to provide options and different resources that can meet our clients' needs when what we do doesn't properly address all of it. And I like to let people know that we are at base level life enhancement services. We are a behavioral health agency. So we do provide therapy. But when we're dealing with these families, we realize that therapy is not always the end all. And most of the times, if not all the times, it's not the end all. It is a step to bettering your life, is a step to bettering yourself. But therapy is not all that a lot of individuals need. So with our case management, we're able to help you with housing. We can help you find shelters, low income housing units. We can help you financially with cash assistance, utility assistance. We can help you find food pantries, food drives. We get you hooked up with some educational trade schools, GED courses. I work with one of the educational departments here in Houston, and we provide our resources to the GED and ESL students that we come across. We want to be able to provide our clients and their families with everything, these wraparound services. We can help you with free clinics and signing up for insurances, as well as finding different daycares and head starts in the community. One big thing that we do and that we want to press with case management, and this pertains to any organization that does case management for individuals and families, is that we have an aspect of advocacy that we feel is unmatched. A lot of times you reach out to these organizations, you need help, and they're going to be like, I got a phone number for you, or this is an address that you can go to get your services. While that is fine, and we love that people are spreading the information, we also realize that a lot of our families don't have the time. Some of my families don't have time to fill out applications. Some of my families don't have time to sit in a food pantry line, and that's just understandable. So what we do is we advocate to the highest degree for our clients. So if there is a housing application that needs to be filled out, we'll fill it out for you. We'll do everything up until we have to put a signature on it. When it comes to finding different daycares, when it comes to other type of resources, we're going to do as much as we can, and then deliver it to your front door. We understand, like I said, there's not enough hours in the day for a lot of our families, so we don't want to just point them in a direction and say, okay, you can take care of it from there. We're going to pretty much do everything that we can, and then just give it to you and tell you to run with it. It really helps our families out, and it really just shows a commitment to our families and a passion for our families. So that's a little bit about our organization. And that really, like I said, it pertains to a lot of behavioral health agencies. For all the individuals who are tuned into this webinar, we may not all live in the same area. We may not all live in the same state, whatever it may be. But these are some of the things that when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about therapy, these are the things that you want to either ask for, look for in your agency. We don't want anybody who makes you feel like you're doing more work than you need to. It is a process between us and our clients to get them to where they need to be. And we don't want to add any additional stresses. So again, when you are looking for therapies, when you are looking for different agencies, make sure you ask a question. Make sure you see what they do for you outside of just doing therapy, because we all know that it's not a one-stop shop. And we have to be okay in all aspects of our lives. So with that in mind, what is mental health? I know I talked a whole bunch about, our therapy and all of that, but let's just talk about, the basics. What is mental health? So mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual can realize their own abilities, they're able to cope with the normal stresses of life, and they can work productively within their own community. And when we talk about mental health, we tend to only have conversations surrounding bad mental health or mental illnesses. But often we should, talk about the positive aspects of our mental health, how we're maintaining our mental health and what we're doing to improve it. Those type of conversations that we can have with each other are, there's so much value in those without having to be too descriptive about what's going on in your life. We can just have conversations about what we think are positive, what we think are negative, and just bring those conversations to the table. So what is a mental illness? So a mental illness is going to be a condition that involves a change in your emotion, your thinking, your behavior, sometimes a combination of all of these things. Mental illnesses are often associated with stress or problems functioning in social settings, work, or family environments. Not all mental illnesses are the same, and just because you have a mental illness does not mean you can't have healthy mental health. It's really all about how you maintain it and the steps that you take to improve it. So when we think of our mental health, we always want to stress that, like your feelings or your day-to-day activities, your mental health is not in a concrete state. Our mental health, it falls on a range, and that range, it fluctuates from day to day and situation to situation. So mental health is really looked at generally in four different stages, and those stages are going to be the healthy stage, reacting, injured, and ill. And like I said before, how you deal with these stages, that's what's most important, and it's going to vary as the severity of the issues change. So if you look above the graph over the healthy and reacting stages, you'll see brackets. And those brackets indicate self-care and social support. And then above the injured and ill, you will see professional care. And those are like the common forms of help that you would seek out to either to maintain or improve your mental health status. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's just good to kind of keep your eye on that and just understand what you should do when you are in these stages. So let's first talk about a healthy or normal functioning state of mental health. In this state, you will have your normal mood fluctuations. Like, you're going to be mad when you're supposed to be mad. You're going to be sad when it's appropriate. You're going to be happy when it's needed. And you're able to deal with your day-to-day issues. You're able to go to sleep, you're able to stay asleep without problems, and you're going to be active in your, social and personal lives. So when we're talking about having a healthy or normal functioning mental health, that means that you're able to progress in life while being able to, effectively handle the issues and disruptions that may appear in your life. We never want anybody to think that there's people who just have no issues. Everybody has, issues. Everybody goes through things. But what, like I say, and like I harp on, it's really about how you attack it. It's really about how you address it. So being able to handle the issues that are going to happen, that's what, differentiates a healthy, normal functioning mental health and something that's, more severe or maybe just a reacting type of mental health. And although having that normal functioning mental health means that you are able to function at a higher level, it does not mean that you are immune to your mental health being affected. Typically, it just represents your ability to manage that crisis when it arises. So next we have the reacting. And people who are at this point, they may show some type of distress or like inability to cope when they're faced with a significant event such as a death. But they are capable of performing daily life functions. So your current mood in the reacting phase would be directly related to a recent event, and now you are reacting to it. It could be something as serious as a death in the family, or it might just be that your car broke down. Either way, this is your body, this is your mind reacting to that situation. And in these instances, it's very common for us to have a bit of difficulty with our day-to-day activities. While we may still be able to perform them correctly, we might be a little spaced out when we're doing these things. We might be a little forgetful. We might have a trouble, sleeping during these times, or we might just retreat, away from our friends and our family. But when we're in this reacting space, what is so important is that we are able to get back to a normal functioning mental health without too much interference, without having to do too much. You don't necessarily have to go seek out a professional when you're in this stage. That self-care and social support can help maintain your mental health and improve your mental health while you are in this reacting phase. The next one is going to be the injured. So once we are in the injured state of mind, this is like the beginning of something more serious. People who are at this point, they may show some type of distress and an inability to cope over a longer period of time. Because when you're in a reacting phase, you are also showing like a little bit of inability to cope. But what makes it different when you're in this injured stage is the length of time in which you are still feeling the effects of the situation, and they're not easily alleviated by your typical coping strategies. So if you see when you hit that injured, that's when the professional care starts to be a more impactful avenue to take. So this in turn starts to have an impact on performing your daily life functions. You may start slacking at work or school. You may start feeling worthless and blame yourself for, some of the problems that you're having. And at this point, you may have stopped going out socially, and you probably have already retreated from your family or your support system. And then we move on to the last one. And lastly, we have ill. This is the end of the continuum. And as this name suggests, people falling under this category, they're unable to cope with the stresses and exhibit, significant changes in their thoughts, their behaviors, their actions. Their symptoms can be significant and prolonged. And when you're in this stage, you will need the support of professionals. There's really no doubt about that. At this stage, you are likely to be diagnosed professionally with like some type of clinical disorder. And those in this stage will find it close to impossible to not only take care of your day-to-day necessities, but you'll find it hard to even care about those necessities. That's what something is so scary, when we're in these situations, is that it's not even that you're looking at something and saying that it has no importance to you. It's that these very important things in your mind, the things that you need to take care of, like bathing, taking care of your children, going to work, they don't show. They don't go across your mind. You don't think about it at all. And these are some of the things that we have to do on a daily basis. But when we're in this situation, when we're in this stage, it's so your stresses are so overwhelming that you are unable to even care about those things that you're supposed to care about. Those emotions are overwhelming and they're consistent. You wake up feeling depressed, you go to sleep feeling depressed, and you go through a whole dream stage feeling depressed. You don't ever really get out of that. It's very, very consistent. And when you're in this stage, you might lose touch with reality. You might even want to end your life. And something that we always have to look at, especially when it comes to the organizations that I work with, is that there are levels to mental health care. The Life Enhancement Services, we are a level 3, behavioral health agency. So that essentially means that if you need a 24-hour watch, if you need like 6 hours a day of therapy, because there are individuals who need like 6+ hours, these are the individuals that we are not able to help. We help them them get admitted to hospitals. We help them get overnight stays. But it's very important that when we are, dealing with these agencies, and when these agencies are dealing with our clients, is to make sure they're not being misdiagnosed. The higher level you are in your diagnosis, of course, the more money an organization can make. But sometimes it's not necessary to be diagnosed at those levels. So just for something that we try to curtail, something that we try to talk about and explain when we're dealing with other organizations, is that we cannot have our individuals being misdiagnosed, whether it's underdiagnosed or overdiagnosed, especially when it comes to money. Sometimes it takes our ability away. If you are being diagnosed as a 4 when you need to be a 3, we're not able to help you. Now they're going to put you in a overnight an inpatient type of facility when you may not need it. And then on the reverse, you might need that type of help, and organizations don't want to make you a level 4 because then they'll lose you as a client. So there's like little things that we have to pay attention to, and we want to make sure that if we are dealing with individuals who are being seen, or we are ourselves are being seen, that we're making sure that what is being said and how we're being diagnosed is proper. We never want anybody to be being treated in the wrong way, because we know that really never turns out well for our clients. So with that in mind, now that we've gone over, the 4 stages of mental health, I want to talk about, before we talk about how we can deal with these stages, how we can deal with the issues when we're in these stages, I kind of just want to look at just a couple of the problems that we are seeing when it comes to individuals being diagnosed. So, like, our mental health, the problems that we have, the problems that causes distresses in our lives are going to be different. What may affect you might not affect someone else. And it's very important to understand that, and that it goes hand in hand with our interpersonal skills, is that you have to understand that some people take things harder than others. Some people, can look at a situation and get past it while others can't. So when we're looking at this, and this presentation was originally created for schools. So I like to stay on that topic because of COVID in schools, and we just see how these problems are affecting us, and a lot of our clients are children. So what are some of the problems that we see, some of the things that we are seeing children being diagnosed, and what are the causes for those things? So COVID has definitely done a number, on how school is supposed to be provided and attended. And many people believe that the changes that we are going through are going to last for a very long time, or be permanent. So, many of us went into COVID and virtual learning thinking it was a blessing. We thought that it would be more convenient and more to our preferred style. Although we really didn't have a preferred style. School has largely been conducted the same way for years. We thought we could perform better if we were, at the comfort of our own homes, but that proved to not be the case for a lot of us. There was a poll from a journal called Timely, and of those people polled, they were from I'm going to say middle school, 6th grade to college. 77% of those students polled reported that virtual learning is not only hard, but it's harder than what we expected. And this is not just for us, it's for the children as well. We have adults who are going with this, and then the children who are having to deal with this as well. So virtual learning, just wrapping our minds around the fact that we will be doing everything virtual was hard enough for some, but actually participating and then succeeding with this new style of school was even harder. We're on our phones and our computers all day, every day. But now when we're doing it for school, things are a whole lot different. The technology aspect, figuring out the new devices, the new programs. I got a computer, that I'm using now that I built. But I still had trouble when I was setting up my kids' Chromebooks. Many of us had never used Zoom before. Many of us had never attended, online, virtual presentations before. But look at us now. Almost everything from our meetings to our classes, it's all on Zoom. It's all on Teams. It's all on Wix. All of these things are the new norm now. And it's just not enough to know about this new stuff. Now we got to be able to use it and troubleshoot it, once our teachers log off. We're doing this work and then we doing it at home and something goes wrong. Well, who do you reach out to? It's 8:00 at night. There's nobody open. The IT's not open. So not only are we being thrown this new stuff, but now we got to learn how to work it and fix it if, we come across these problems. Being separated, this loneliness, being separated from classmates, from friends, everyday life has, dramatically increased the feelings that we have of isolation. And we have our accountability, along with time management. And a lot of this stuff really can translate from outside of school. A lot of this does pertain to school, but a lot of it also can translate to a lot of different aspects, as we are still using kind of the same mentality, the same methods to deal with work, to deal with our social lives, to deal with school. So having that accountability, along with time management, accountability is critical in online learning. Without a teacher standing at the front of the classroom, without a boss standing in front of you, setting expectations for you, you're responsible for your own success, whether it's academic or your career success. Right now, we're looking at a high level of accountability. And then we have time management. Managing time effectively and efficiently is one of the biggest challenges that we face with online work, whether it's school or, for your job. Without time management skills, students and individuals struggle, to keep up with assignments, to make sure that, things are being done. We have, calendars here and there, but unless you're paying attention to, you're getting these alerts. A lot of times we're missing these opportunities simply because we're used to somebody every day being in front of somebody and somebody else reminding us of what we have to do. So, I bring these things up because these are just little things that have changed over the last couple of years when it comes to our lives. And because of these changes, we're seeing so many people who are stressing out, people who have these type of anxieties, and we're trying to make sure that they're getting seen. We're trying to make sure that these are being recognized as real issues. So the people who are struggling from this virtual learning, people who are struggling from this accountability or technology, are being able to be seen and being able to be respected with their problems. So with that being said, now that we've gone over what the stages are, going over what some of the issues are that are causing us to go to these stages, let's look a little bit about how we can deal with the problems once they arise. So again, when it comes to taking care of yourself, it's going to be different. Everybody's way of taking care of themselves is going to be different, just like everybody's, trigger points are going to be different. When it comes to our mental health and taking care of ourselves, it's always about making sure you are right within. So what may work for you might not work for others. When it comes to self-care is one of the easiest ways to take care of your issues. And if you remember from the graph, the self-care was above the healthy or reacting states of mind, the less severe states of mind when it comes to our mental health. So just exercising, taking 30 minutes of just walking every day can help boost, your mood and improve your health. Eating healthy, regular meals. So having that balanced diet, drinking that water gives you that energy that you need to accomplish whatever task you have. Make sleep a priority. A lot of people have different schedules, and there's no perfect time to go to bed, but there is a perfect way to go to sleep. And we want to do that by sticking to a schedule. If you have to get your 8 hours from the hours of 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., then that's just when you get your 8 hours. Make sure you're doing that every day. Stick to that schedule. You have to work that around your life, but you need to make sure that you are getting that proper sleep. Practicing mindfulness. So doing type of, imagery, yoga, doing things that really help you release the stress and open your mind Those are really good ways for your self-care. Focus on positivity. A lot of times we have little, we're in a good place, but we have things lingering in the back of our minds. Take those things, turn them into positives. Maybe you didn't want to do, one thing, but the result of that one thing was positive. So don't worry about why you didn't want to do it. Just worry about, the positive that comes from that. And we want you really just to always try to focus on positivity before you focus on negativity. And then the last thing that we can do as far as our self-care goes is just to stay connected. And staying connected really helps us in more than one way. One, we can keep those pipelines of communication open with the people that we love and admire the most. But secondly, which I believe is equally as important, is that we're allowing ourselves to be accessible for the ones that we love. So instead of, worrying about who's going to answer your phone call, we can always think about, well, can I answer the call when this person calls me? Because we never understand or always know what somebody else may be going through. So being able to stay connected, you never know, you might be that one phone call, that somebody needed, your cousin, your uncle, your sister, or your brother. They might have just needed to talk to you, and they knew that line was always open because you always keep it open. So these are, some of the things that we can do as far as self-care goes, and they're things that you can do by yourself for the most part. I mean, no matter what stage you are in, always practice self-care. If you need professional help, that's one thing, but never stop doing self-care. So the next thing is going to be social support. And social support is the type of support that we can give other individuals who are having mental health crisis, that we, our friends, our family members, our community members. Here are just some of the ways that we can provide support. So the first one is going to be informational. Informational support is one of my favorite ways of supporting someone because, as we all know, we're not all therapists. We're not all trained in this. I'm not a trained therapist. I am the outreach coordinator, so I connect my therapists with, our communities. So I can't sit there and talk to my friends at a really high level to get them to where they need to be. But what I can do is provide information for them. I can gather information that I know will pertain to their situation, and I can connect them with that. So that's why I'm so big on our case management, because with our families, I can give them all of the information that they need to get, tackle the problems that they are having. Then we have our Esteem Support. Now, our Esteem Support is going to be something that you get from one of your more closest, the people that you hold closest in your life, people who understand you and know you, because they're going to show you support through encouragement. They're going to point out your strengths. They're going to show you and tell you about things and times that you've done great, and not to worry about the bad things. So you can offer that esteem. You tell them that, man, you're awesome. You're better than this. You're bigger than this. They can't handle you. Whatever it is that you can do to help pump somebody's self-esteem up, just to get them in a better mindset. Because again, and I'll say it all the time, we're not all therapists. We can only do what we can do. And these are just good ways when you're not able to really address a problem, just address the individual, let them know that they are great. Let them know that they are strong. The next one is going to be tangible. Tangible support is going to be the type of support that is the most appreciated, but also the type of support that's the hardest to provide. With tangible support, this includes taking on responsibilities for someone else, or making sure that I can't talk to you through this problem, but you're telling me you have an issue paying your light bill. I'm going to give you some money for that. You're telling me that you need to take some night classes. Well, I'm going to come watch your kids for you. I can't do much more, but I can offer my time. I can offer my resources so that you have the time and opportunity to take care of your problems. So again, with that the tangible support is very awesome because it affects the issue right away. If my brother is having financial issues and I can give him finances, I'm attacking the problem right away. Now, why he got into the issue, that's another situation. But with that tangible support, we're able to take that active stance. We're able to be like, okay, whatever this issue is right now, let's deal with it, which is why people appreciate it, but which is also why it's so hard because we don't always have the money. We don't always have the time to provide to others. And then we have, last but not least, is our emotional support. And our emotional support is going to be the easiest way to support someone when you can't do anything else for them. And this type of support is going to be that physical comfort. Give me a hug. Rub my back, make me feel better. Listen to me, empathize with me. Just hear me out. A lot of people just need that sounding board for them to feel heard. So we always want to be able to, give somebody, if nothing else, some emotional support. So once we get past our, self-care and our social support, I want to look at professional support. And when we look at professional support, we typically have a good understanding of how therapy is supposed to work. You have an issue, you work with your therapist on that issue to come up with ways to change patterns in your behavior and change, if there's medications to help you pretty much cope. So I don't like to harp too much on exactly what therapy is, because one, that's going to vary a lot between your situation and the professional that you are using. So what I do like to talk about when it comes to professional support is the benefits of getting professional support. We live in a world where there's a huge stigma about going to see a therapist. People who look like me and people in the same communities that I'm from, we have that stigma that you're not supposed to go see nobody. You don't tell nobody that you're having any issues. You're supposed to be strong, this, that, and the other. Well, that's not always going to be the best case, and typically it's never the best case. So that's why I want to kind of touch on the benefits of going to see a professional, because we know what the professional is going to do, but let's see why you should go do that. So the first one is going to be because you're able to share your emotions. Bottling up your emotions has a lasting negative effect on your mood and your behavior. So having somebody to talk to allows you to better understand your feelings, and it prevents you from bottling up in the future. You have somebody to constantly, reach out to. The second thing, you're able to explore your thoughts in a deeper way. So you're able to bounce your ideas and feelings off of your health professional, and you're able to receive feedback and gain a better understanding of why you feel the way you do and what factors are involved in that. The next thing is going to be, you can improve your physical wellness. And when we think about physical wellness, it's not just working out, but when you're getting these services, many individuals see an improvement in like sleep quality. They'll see an improvement in energy. They'll have healthier appetites when you're shedding some of the stress. And that in turn leads into an increase of physical activity. Now that your mind is strong, now you're like, man, now I can take care of my physical body. I'm not tired right now. I'm not up all night stressing. So I woke up at a good time. I had a good meal. I got energy. Now you can work, on your physical wellness, which all goes hand in hand. Then we have, that you can get a different perspective on other people. Sometimes we're unable to understand why people react to us the way that they do, or why people may feel differently than us. So getting therapy allows you to see things from different perspectives, and then it gives you insight on how to deal with others in regards to your mental health, and how your affections or actions affect them, and how theirs are going to affect you. Number 5 is going to be learning to discuss difficult subjects. So, a lot of conversations we are extremely uncomfortable having, but a lot of those times, those are the conversations that we need to have the most. Counseling sessions are safe spaces, and therapists are non-judgmental. They provide you the perfect opportunity to freely express everything that's on your mind. And then the last but not least, it's you deserve it. I feel like it's the most important thing, is that you deserve it. I myself have had professional support. I think everybody I know has had some type of professional support. I've had professional support when I was a teenager. I've had it as an adult. Every time I went, I was like, there's no way y'all can help me out. And then every time I got helped. It's all about shedding that stigma, but it's also about understanding that you deserve it. There should be no one telling you that you shouldn't do something that's going to benefit you. There's so many misconceptions as far as who should see a therapist and why you should see a therapist. But that truth is, everybody can benefit from seeing a therapist. Therapy positively affects many aspects of your life. And they often can be seen as preventative steps to future issues. there are some lessons that I've learned years ago that I'm able to, channel when I'm going through different things in life. I'm like, man, I remember when I was first told that I didn't even want to hear it, but now I'm still able to use these lessons to prevent any issues that I'm having right now. So that's why it's really important just to seek a professional if ever you feel like you need it. Even sometimes if you don't know if you need it or not, just give it a try. Again, you want to keep up with that self-care. You want to keep up with that social support. And then when necessary, definitely reach out to a professional. So when we talk about the professionals, who are these professionals? Who are these people that you are going to see on a daily basis? Who are these people that I work with on a daily basis that I try to connect with, our communities? So we have a mentor. So a mentor is going to be your first step. I always like to say, find a mentor. That's going to be in your social support, category. It's going to be in your healthy, functioning mental health or your reacting stages. These are when mentors are effective. Somebody that either from work or from personal lives that can be a beacon of life for you in terms of setting and meeting your goals. So typically this is someone that you have personally observed in your life, and they've either have similar goals or they've taken similar paths, and you've watched them take them and succeed. So these are some of the people that can be mentors for you because they understand what you're trying to do or where you're trying to go. The next is going to be our social workers, and social work is very, 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 very broad, but we'll speak on it as it pertains to the mental health services. So they assist our individuals, they assist groups and our communities to enhance the capacity for social functioning. So they make sure that our communities are all kind of running together, working together, and they help create conditions for favorable, goals. So they're helping create these community events. They're helping bring and pull together individuals who need help or who can benefit from each other so that the community can benefit from that. So our social workers are going to be the individuals who are working with you when you're in this reacting or this injured state of mind. A lot of our QMHPs, our quality mental health professionals, are social workers, or they're trained in social work, and they're going to be the ones that go out to the houses and do the work with the children. They're going to go to the schools, meet you at your job. Those are the ones who are going to be out there in the community. The next is going to be our psychologist. Now, psychologist is someone who studies the mind and behavior. And when you're being seen by a psychologist, they tend to focus on your behavioral patterns. For example, when you're dealing with anxiety, a psychologist will track your sleeping patterns, the frequency and severity of your panic attacks, the negative thoughts that might be contributing to your anxiety. They will then teach you how to change, some of those patterns and then help you develop new habits that'll help you out. Their primary way, when we're thinking of psychologists, their primary way of helping you cope is through psychological treatments and different types of talk therapy. But they are not, and I like to stress this, I think there's one state in the country, but 99% of psychologists are not allowed to prescribe medicine. So there are individuals who will benefit more from medicine. Psychologists work with the mind, and psychologists do all the talk therapy. But they are the ones that you see when you are going through something traumatic. Then last but not least, we have the psychiatrist. Now, the psychiatrist can do the work of all of the other professionals plus some. So they are going to look at your behavioral patterns. They are going to have a stronger understanding of biology and neurochemistry, though, because they are trained in medicine. Before you become a psychiatrist, you have to be a doctor of medicine, and then you can become a psychiatrist. So this allows them to provide a wider range of treatments, and it can be psychological treatments, but it can also be brain stimulation therapies. They can provide medication. They can give you that general medical care, like those physical examinations that I was talking about earlier, to evaluate any of the effects of not only your mental health, your physical health onto your mental health, but the effects of the medicine that they prescribe. So again, they're able to perform medical examinations before even providing a diagnosis. They might check your thyroids or vitamin deficiencies before they diagnose you with depression. So these are the four individuals or the four groups of individuals that we see on a regular basis, but they all play a vital role in the mental health of our clients, from that mentor all the way to the psychiatrist. Each one takes an active stance in your life, and they attempt to give you the guidance that you need to really prevent you from needing anybody down to a psychiatrist. If your mentor, doesn't want you to need a social worker, your social worker doesn't want you to need a psychologist, and the psychologist doesn't want you to need a psychiatrist. But they understand that sometimes that's how it is. So we want to work together to make sure that we are in, the best, areas of our lives. So without, taking up too much time, I know we're kind of pushing time, but I want to just look at a few facts when it comes to mental health. And these facts change every day. And one thing I want to bring up really quickly is when I was out of town last week, we were in a country that did not care about America. They had their own issues. They didn't cater to us. I loved it. Every time they asked us where we were from, we said Texas. The first thing and the only thing that they said to me was, "Did you hear about those school shootings?" And it blows my mind because this is a country I couldn't even get cell service and barely could get Wi-Fi. But when they think of America, the first thing they can think of is the mass shootings. And imagine their faces when I told them, "Oh, which one?" They're like, "Oh, the one in Texas." "Oh, well, which one in Texas?" Because it happens so often. It happens so often. I was in a country where they have gang rivalries and terrorists and stuff like that they're dealing with. We're worrying about school shootings. They can't even fathom the idea of their children being shot at a school. And this is something that we have to see on a daily basis. And what is even crazier is that since the 27th of May, there has been 21 reported mass shootings in America. 21 since May 27th. It's like June 3rd or something like that right now. And the to be considered a mass shooting, it has to be guns involved and at least 4 people injured or killed. They don't have to even die for it to be considered a mass shooting. So in the last week, there has been 21 instances where at least 4 people have been shot and or killed in our, and while we have been just going through our daily lives, our normal lives. So I wanted to just bring up these quick statistics just to, kind of paint a better picture or a bigger picture of just how important our mental health is. So first one in 6 adults in Texas suffer from a mental health illness. Now, I understand a lot of people may not be from Texas who are reading these statistics, but this just kind of goes to show you this is one of the bigger states, if not the biggest state. This is what those numbers look. Harris County, the county that I live in, the county that surrounds all of Houston, has one service provider for mental health for every almost 1,000 residents, which is almost double any other state and any other county in the rest of America. So for every not 1,000 people, there's only one of us, and we see why we're seeing there's a lack of mental health work. 17% of male deaths in Harris County are from suicide. So that's 1 in every 6.5 men. If it's me, my brother, my 2 sons, my boss, my best friend, and one random other guy, statistically speaking, one of us will die from suicide. And that's ridiculous. I couldn't imagine anybody who I just named being one of those. But statistically speaking, one of us will die from suicide. In December of last year, 25% of adults in Texas had dealt with anxiety due to COVID. That was a few months ago. COVID has been going on for 2 years now. So still up until recently, we're still having a quarter of adults dealing with anxiety. And of that, half of them had anxiety because they lost work due to COVID. This was in December of 2021, just a few months ago. 33% of adults with mental health symptoms report that they have unmet needs when it comes to their care. They are not having the access to the mental health facilities. They are not feeling as though they are getting seen properly, the skill level. And when we talk about the access, it's really a two-way street because there's a lack of access because there's not enough, organizations. And then because there's not enough organizations, there's a lack of access because there's a wait time that is beyond. There are some wait times here in Houston that are 6 to 8 weeks to see a therapist. That's 2 months to get an assessment. That's not even a start a treatment plan. That's just for them to assess where you're at. People can't last that long. And if a third of all adults in America are having some type of symptoms that they are not able to be seen on, that causes a lot more issues. So these are just some statistics. And when you look up mental health statistics, you'll find 6 completely different ones on your first Google search. I'm sure you will, because there's so many different statistics out there. The impact is so great right now. And all we really want to do as mental health providers is just bring awareness. We know we can't force anybody to get services, but the best that the least that we can do is let you know that these services do exist, and that you could possibly benefit from them. So the last little aspect of the presentation, I just wanted to go over the common terms and diagnosis of, that we see on a day-to-day. Unfortunately, when I did convert this slide, the words did not change the colors. So you might not be able to see the actual term, but I will read them out very briefly. So the first one is going to be anxiety. Anxiety disorder is a type of mental health condition that, you pretty much respond to certain things and situations with fear and dread. So anxiety does include different phobias and having panic attacks. That's a part of anxiety. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental health concern in the United States. Over 40 million, almost 20%, have some type of anxiety disorder, and about 7% of children 3 to 17 experience anxiety each year. And most people develop these symptoms before your age of 21. So we're going through this as high schoolers or in middle school. The next one is going to be addiction, and that's just a chronic disorder that's characterized by someone who is seeking a drug or a substance that has a very harmful consequence, and they're continue to use that. So knowing the harmful consequences and the long-lasting effects when you are constantly seeking out these drugs or these substances, knowing that these are the consequences, that's when you are going to be diagnosed with an addiction, because you're allowing the negative to outweigh the positives of that. The next one we're going to have is bipolar. So being bipolar, we hear that so much. People just say that they're bipolar, and we really don't want to joke about that. But it's characterized by the levels of somebody's moods. When we think of bipolar, we think of individuals who have really, really high ceilings and then really, really, really low floors. And when we talk about that, people have heard the term manic depressant. Manic depressant, the manic part, the mania part comes from that very high level of energy. And then the depressant part comes from that ceiling. So people who are considered manic depressant wake up maybe and they're ready to do 100 million things. And then at the drop of a hat, they are at their lowest level possible. So those are considered manic depressants. Then we have dementia. Dementia is a problem that we see, and it's caused by a disease in the brain, and it compromises a lot of different functions in our minds, our comprehension, our ability to learn, our language, and our ability to judge situations. The most common disease of dementia is Alzheimer's. And when we think of these diseases, we think of them affecting our elderly population, but it has been researched that it's actually not an age-related thing. It is more common in older ages, but your age does not play a factor of if you have it or not. And what is a really big point to touch on is that with dementia, with these types of brain diseases, a lot of them start when you're in your 30s, in your late 20s, and they already start. So by the time you're being diagnosed with dementia, Alzheimer's, it's far too late, which is why you can't really be cured from it, because it's already taken its toll. It affects people mostly over 65, but there's 200,000 people in America under that age, between 30 and 50, who suffer from dementia. So that's a very young age to be 30, 35, and to be suffering from dementia. But it's just important to know that once you are at that point where they're diagnosing you for that, it's very, very late. And it's really more so about maintaining it and not about curing it. Next, we're going to have depression. Depression is a mood disorder, and it causes a persistent sadness, a feeling of sadness or loss of interest. Then we have GAD, which is general anxiety disorder, which is like anxiety, but it's generalized. And this means that you have anxiety for no pinpointable reason. You just kind of wake up and you just have anxiety about anything. It's not tied to any particular circumstance. It's really just generalized in your life. OCD, that's recurring obsessional thoughts or compulsive acts. These thoughts, ideas, images, they enter the patient's mind again and again in a stereotyped form. And that's what the biggest takeaway from that is, the stereotyped form. Some people, do things. If you sneeze and I say bless you, that's normal. But if you sneeze and I say bless you 3 times and then I have to like rub the wall or something, that's what they say when they say the stereotype form, because the way that you're reacting to it is a little different than what would be normal in that same situation. We have PTSD. PTSD is a delayed response to a stressful event or situation. It could be you have been in an abusive relationship for 10 years. That can cause PTSD. You could see somebody get hit by a car. That can cause PTSD. What a big characteristic of it is that delayed aspect of it, meaning you may have walked away from seeing somebody get hit by a car, but anytime in the future when you see somebody get hit by a car, you relive those same feelings. Or if you've been out of that abusive relationship for years, and you get into a situation that is similar, and you have that reoccurring fear again, that's the PTSD, because it's that delayed response to something because of your past. And then last but not least, we have schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a very known term, and it's a severe mental disorder. It's characterized by profound disruptions in the way that you think, your language, and your perception of yourself. You might look into the mirror and not recognize the person that you are seeing. Literally looking at yourself and not seeing it. And this is a very, very high level disorder, which typically gets categorized a little higher than what we typically take care of with life enhancement services, but it's still very common. So these are, just some of the common terms. I'm sorry if I ran through them too fast. I was just really trying to save on time. But these are the common terms, the common diagnoses that we see on a daily basis. So after that, like, what's next? Like, what do you do when you feel like you're being educated or you're understanding your needs when it comes to your mental health? The first thing you're going to want to do is journal those thoughts. There's power and value in your writing, no matter what. And the one thing that, we tend to do is that we have issues and then we go to see somebody about the issues and we kind of forget, or we're not feeling that pain in that same area. So we can't, point it out. So it's important to always write your journal or journal your thoughts down. So if you do go see a professional, you can just tell them exactly, page 1, page 2, page 3, you have it right there. Don't be afraid, whether it is seeking out professional help or just addressing your own problems. Know that you're doing the right thing. You are taking that step to bettering yourself. So never be afraid to reach out. The next one is going to be identify someone that you can trust. When you're going through these stages of your life, when you're feeling like your mental health is at risk, make sure that there's somebody that is going to be in your corner. It could be that mentor, that social worker, it could be your best friend or a family member, but make sure that there's somebody who can ride with you and somebody who will understand. And if anything happens, they can relay any messages for you. They can, talk to somebody and say, well, man, yeah, they've been going through this, that, and the other. So you want to identify somebody that you can trust. And last but not least, when it comes to our mental health, when it comes to bettering ourselves, is that it takes one step, you have to take one step at a time. Achieving your mental health is not something that happens overnight. You have to make a plan to addressing your mental health, and you have to commit to addressing that mental health. Only then, and that with the help of other things, because again, we provide therapy at Life Enhancement Services, but that's not all that anybody, that's not always the everything for someone. Some people need more. So knowing that it just doesn't happen, knowing that it takes a plan and it takes a village, to really help us out. Make sure that you understand that. Don't try to force it and don't try to rush things. There are people who can help, and there are people who are going to go just as slow as you need them to go, so that you can reach, where you need to be. So again, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for allowing me some time. I do apologize that we were not able to do this last week. Again, for my individuals who may live in Houston, here is some information about our organization. We do work all over Houston. Embracing Arms does work all over Houston. We are always interested in helping families, helping different organizations. So if you know of anybody who can, use our services, or if you just have any questions, please, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Miss Green, and we can, be that stepping stone for you. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys learned something. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrell. And once again, if you guys want more information about our upcoming sessions, we have one more session scheduled for the end of this month. And you can go into embracingarms.com and click on our workshop tab to get more information. If you are not a member of the Embracing Arms community, please visit the website and become a member. And that way you'll be able to get the recordings of workshops that you have missed. So we put these workshops out there throughout the spring, and we ask for participants to register and pay a small fee. And the money that we collect for the fee is used to go back to our young people, providing mentoring and professional development for parents in the community. So we just rotate it back into our programming. But if you are a member of the Embracing Arms community, you have the exclusive access to getting the recording and some other really cool resources in the portal. So thank you again for joining us this Saturday morning. Thank you, Tyrell, for sharing your expertise with the Embracing Arms community. And we look forward to talking to you and seeing you again.
Thank you.